Hi, my name is Terry Bloom and I'm with Zultys. I'll be walking you through some of the aspects of the Zultys product and capabilities today. Thank you for your time and consideration as you evaluate some of these various solutions. Before I start, I'd like to mention that for today, I'm really wanting to show you what types of technology and applications a Zultys user can easily accomplish. I won't go into too much detail at this point. As we uncover your specific interest in certain areas, we can better determine what you might want to see. Remember, at the end of the day, Zultys can simply be a phone on a user's desk. The cool piece here is that because of the way technology is today, you can go from very basic to advanced with a simple user license. I say this because sometimes I show people all of these cool capabilities and they forget that it all starts with a user typically using a phone at their desk. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Zultys has actually been around since 2001. We started back when communications was simply voice. It's served us well over the years, having that history and progression as technology has changed. I say this because from a voice or phone system perspective, we have almost 20 years of development into the product. It really makes our platform rich from that aspect. I'm sure you've heard of Silicon Valley, where all the big tech companies are located. Well, our roots are in Sunnyvale, California. And over the last 19 years, we have created a network of partners almost 500 strong throughout North America and growing daily. We're actually a global company and have users all over the world. Since 2015, Zultys has seen significant growth, and we attribute this to the shift in the way people communicate. Whereas it used to be simply voice, today people use all types of ways to communicate. Additionally, the shift to the cloud has created an explosive growth where companies are rapidly moving to the cloud, and we attribute our growth to this transformation. When you look back at how we used to communicate, it has traditionally just been voice, a phone at the desk. Then as technology changed, we saw the mobile device come into play. And over the last decade, users now use many tools such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, GoToMeeting, fax, texting, SMS, Slack, all types of things. All of these tools are great. And when we speak with most companies, they can relate to using some, if not all of these capabilities. The fact still remains. These technologies are still very fragmented for the users. And because the experience is fragmented, it makes for slower adoption rates within businesses like yourself. What Zultys does is create a unified user experience, all in a single pane of glass. At the end of the day, it allows the users to feel more comfortable using these various ways to communicate and ultimately makes users more productive. In looking at how Zultys designed our platform, we had to see unified communications as something that addressed the following concepts. We'll go into greater depth in this presentation, but to give you some perspective, here's what Zultys feels is the most important for the business enterprise. Adoption rate. If the technology isn't easy to use, then it doesn't matter what its capabilities are. Ease of use has to be a must. Contextual. Unified communications has to be able to communicate on some level with the existing user's capabilities, such as software like Outlook or Salesforce. Products need to be robust. And what we mean by this is that many products today have bits and pieces of the capabilities, but just don't take it deep enough. Examples of this are things like users having the ability to record a call, but not so easy to search those calls. Having chat functionality, but not taking it to the next obvious next step. We see this a lot in our industry. Having video, but lacking full-blown webinar functionality or screen sharing as an example. Reliability has to be part of the equation. Understanding what and how a platform performs in the case of an outage or catastrophe is critical. Flexibility on how a customer wants to deploy technology, pay for it, as well as how and where a user wants to work is the ideal scenario. In addition, having the ability to pull business intelligence on the analytics of users and departments is a must in today's world of data mining. And finally, unified communications must be scalable. Scalable as far as number of users, but also in the types of users as well as the terms. When we discuss flexibility, we're talking about how Zultys is capable of delivering that user experience. Now, many companies today want to be in the cloud. However, we still have companies that would prefer to be in their own dedicated data center. Of course, we can deploy this same exact way in a data center as well, and we use VMware or Hyper-V to accomplish this. Additionally, we still have customers that like to maintain their own equipment on premise. The beauty of this is that the customer can decide how. The capabilities are identical no matter how Zultys is deployed. Zultys also gives the individual users flexibility on how they want to work and from what device, as well as a company's financial considerations. As I said earlier, with today's technology, businesses have to be able to scale in size. In the old days, companies were restricted to lesser capabilities because more robust functionality was usually reserved for larger enterprise type platforms. With Zultys, it doesn't matter if your company is 5 users or 10,000 users. Our platform can scale in size with a simple user license and can accommodate multiple locations. It basically creates a completely seamless experience for all internal users, as well as anyone interacting with your business. It's that simple. We really only have 3 types of user licenses. And when we say user licenses, we don't mean actual devices, because every user can have multiple devices. So your company might have 20 users, but each user might use a desk phone, a mobile app, and our ZAC application on the PC or Mac. So to make it easy to understand, standard users are typically phone-only users, meaning they likely have an actual phone on their desk as well as their mobile app. And we bundle all of the user capabilities into this license. Premium users get everything a standard user gets, plus a few more advanced capabilities. We typically recommend premium for anyone that will be using Zultys on a desktop or a Mac. I'll explain more when I show you our ZAC application. And finally, our call center license. It's just that. It is reserved for users that will be part of a call center. I'll help you better understand this license as we move forward. Zultys Call Center is an amazing functionality, and keep in mind, it's all available simply via a user license. Remember I said that if the technology isn't easy to use, then the users won't use it. Well, we see this all the time in our industry. Users that really want to get the full extent of unified communications will want to be using our ZAC or Zultys Advanced Communicator application. I'll show you around later, but what I'll tell you is that with ZAC, there's no longer a reason to even use a phone. Now, I know that users still do use phones, but for the more progressive users, the millennials, the users that like technology, ZAC will be the way to go. Most users will ultimately use both simply because the user wants the flexibility to decide how they want to be most effective. The fact is, you can decide for each user. What I really want you to know about ZAC is that it's easy to learn and easy to use. It looks and feels just like a mobile app. In fact, the mobile app looks and feels just like ZAC. I'll show you as we move forward. Zultys has an app for both Android and iOS. And when you see the demonstration, you'll notice that once you know how to move around one, you'll know how to do both. And if I haven't mentioned before, just like your Android phone now, you know how it always is updating with new features randomly? Well, that's exactly how it'll work with Zultys as well. As we continue to develop new capabilities, users are able to take advantage of these updates as they're released. Zultys releases around 2 major updates per year, but it isn't uncommon to see smaller capabilities on a more frequent basis. I may have missed mentioning that Zultys invests 24% of our profits directly into R&D. It's great because what you see today and what you'll use tomorrow will continuously improve and stay up to date. Here are our Zultys branded endpoints for users. We make a very basic model, such as the 43G on the left-hand side here, as well as a very cool Android touchscreen Wi-Fi enabled 49G phone with optional video camera that's depicted here in the top right. It's very cool and it can be used much like your typical Android device. The cool piece here is that not only do we support our devices, but we would also support any third-party SIP device. It isn't uncommon that we have customers that already have invested in things like Polycom speakerphones or even other manufacturers' phones. Zultys is natively SIP, so those devices would work as well. Like I said before, users don't even need a phone at all. I've been using my PC and mobile device for the last 2 years. I have a phone on my desk, but I just don't see the need to pick up a handset anymore. Simply plug a headset in and you're hands-free and ready to go. As I said, we're natively SIP and can support other manufacturers' equipment. This is great because it gives you the flexibility to use products that will allow you to do things with things like external paging or wireless DEC needs, things you see on the screen now. And of course, as I mentioned, even other endpoints themselves, Zultys supports a completely open SIP standard. Now, this is what I meant when I mentioned robust at the beginning of the presentation. Zultys can allow users to obviously record a call. In fact, you can have all calls recorded or even record a specific caller that calls in. It really is incredibly intelligent when it comes to how and what you want to record. Zultys actually designed a recording capability that I believe is really unheard of today, but very valuable. Most people love the capability of call recording, but the truth is that most users wish they would have pressed the record button after they realized they should have been recording. With Zultys, it works like a DVR. We're actually recording the call all the way through, and as long as you press the record button anytime during that call, well, we'll save the call from the beginning of that conversation. That's what I mean when I say robust. Another example of this is being able to search for call recordings. I'll tell you, most systems can record a call. However, having hundreds of recorded calls doesn't do anything for anyone if it isn't easy to find a specific call by a specific person on a specific date. Zultys does this and does it via a web browser. It's very cool. And if this is something that interests you, we can take a deeper dive into that as well. As for call center, remember those call center licenses we talked about earlier? Well, Zultys has built into its platform the ability for us to create groups or departments within the system. Calls can be transferred or directly ring into those groups, and agents can log in and out from any device. In addition, callers can be queued and hear wait time or average hold times or even request a callback. There's so much to our call center capabilities. It really is enterprise grade. The key here is the powerful way we deliver reporting, as well as live real-time views into what's going on inside those groups or departments. When I speak about robustness, this is another example of what Zultys brings to the table. We see many solutions on the market that have similar capabilities, but I would typically describe them as the home game version, and they're missing so much depth and capability. Again, if this sounds like something we should take a look at, we can for sure give you a demo specifically on this capability. Zultys offers so much intelligence when it comes to reporting of users, groups, or departments, and does it at such a greater level than most. Very often businesses use these types of capabilities in order to truly understand what is going on from all various aspects. Zultys captures every call from cradle to grave and then allows users or admins to be able to customize and schedule reports based on the business needs. Once again, at this point, I'm not certain how deep you'd like to go, but as we better uncover your specific needs, we can go into a closer look, more specifically what can be done here. With Zultys, you can easily provide any user the ability to conduct a video call. Remember, I mentioned fragmented communications earlier. I was suggesting that businesses today are already using these capabilities, but it's just that it's all being done via multiple applications, thus making the experience less user-friendly. Inside ZAC, a user can initiate a video call, screen share, remote desktop, or do remote desktop assistance, or even a simple webinar. This is exactly what I mean when I use the term robust. Again, many of the products today offer video calls, but miss when it comes to sophisticated webinar capabilities, such as polling as an example. There's so much to it, so I really want to focus on the key capabilities that are pertinent to your business. Imagine setting up a future webinar right from ZAC, having the email generated in Outlook as soon as you click the invite icon, all happening with a couple of clicks and less than a minute out of a user's day. Earlier, when I said contextual, what I meant by this as an example is Microsoft Outlook. 86% of users today use Outlook. Being able to integrate with these types of applications just makes the user experience easier to adopt, to use, to learn. When I say integrate, I'm not just talking about a call coming in and being able to pop a contact record. We're talking about dialing out of Outlook, calendar integration for presence, of course, screen popping a record, but so much more. At Zultys, we believe that this is key to the entire unified communications user experience. We see Microsoft as a must. So today, most companies are using some type of CRM or some software to manage their customer relationships or processes. In many cases, we'll look for ways we can keep users sitting in those applications. Let's take a popular app such as Salesforce. Salesforce dominates the CRM space today with a 19% market share. Zultys sees this as crucial to the overall user experience, and this is why, once again, we created a robust integration. Of course, we can integrate with many types of applications, and we'll want to look closer at this as we move forward. This is simply one example of what a Zultys platform is capable of. These two capabilities bring so much to the vast amount of companies' applications. We call this IVR, or interactive voice response and predictive dialing. The fact is, they can be exclusive, but very often are used mutually. Maybe it's better to give you an actual example of this. The easiest example would be when you call into an airline and enter your rewards credit card number and account information. Once you do this, The system searches other databases and sends you to a call center where they can see who you are before ever answering the call. In fact, you were transferred there because when the account was looked up, it saw that you were a VIP account and Zultys would be smart enough to know how to handle your call. Another example of these types of rich, intelligent applications might be a doctor's office dialing their patients daily to remind them of their appointments and then recording the patient response and providing all types of analytics on the outbound calling campaign. We call this predictive dialing. And as you can see, Zultys isn't just a phone system by any means. And this is the next evolution of capabilities with Zultys. As I said earlier, as Zultys comes out with new capabilities, a Zultys user will continue to evolve on a regular basis. Today, we are seeing applications like searching call recordings and things like wallboards and management of a call center, all being web-based today. In the case of a call recording or real-time wallboard, if this makes sense, I'd want to show you specifically what these capabilities are capable of. If you plan on being in the cloud, or even if you're a company that will take advantage of faxing on a large scale or having specific needs like recording everyone in the office, then we might need to look at how we archive those recordings. With many systems, once a server gets fully loaded, it'll typically need to dump the first in, first out, or what we call FIFO. In order to compensate for this, a Zultys platform can offload this data and store the information for as long or as much as you want. For most companies, the concern around what-if scenarios is key in making a decision around office communications. The amount of failover, redundancy, and backup is exceptional when it comes to the actual MX portfolio. However, having a plan on the MX side is one thing. There are many considerations that need to be evaluated. At the end of the day, it becomes a matter of what we are trying to recover from and ultimately accomplish. If we're talking about, our data center, then we can discuss how Zultys has multiple failover servers and runs 5 nines of reliability. If we're talking failure on the bandwidth, we can describe how we use multiple tier 1 providers and have failover and redundancy there. It really comes down to understanding the need and implementing the correct strategy. With Zultys, we can provide complete business continuity no matter what the architecture a customer goes with. So if you are premise, cloud, or virtual, you can rest comfortably knowing that the proper design has been implemented to handle your specific fears of downtime. Recently we did just that for a small little company known as Samsung. This was one of their biggest concerns when they recently opened a new facility with 4,000 users in Austin, Texas. Zultys provided them with multiple ways to accomplish business continuity. 911. Unfortunately, too many people miss this part of the conversation when evaluating a unified communications platform. I honestly think it's because if the product only has basic capabilities, then it's best not to open up a can of worms. At Zultys, every system can address the importance of such calls. For starters, MX will do the following when a user dials 911. Calls are automatically recorded. Number 2, an instant message is automatically generated to all members of what we call an operator group. Number 3, in our system log entries, there is a log generated in every MX system. Number 4, if all lines are tied up within your business and a trunk is automatically freed up. Should the call be disconnected when the emergency services operator calls back, the call may be routed automatically to the user that last made an emergency call. And finally, number 5, if set up properly, a call from a user anywhere on a Zultys system will notify the emergency 911 response team to the exact location of the emergency. In most cases, this requires a company to have a higher level of understanding of the intricacies of setting up 911 protection. With Zultys, every one of our nationwide partners runs through a rigorous training and certification program that is required. So at this point, you've seen a high overview of all of our capabilities, and hopefully you understand Zultys a little better. Why don't we look at scheduling a demo and get specific about what your needs are in terms of some of the key things we just discussed. At that time, I can give you a tour of how our ZAC application will work for the users and show you the mobile app as well. Please speak with your representative and let's get together. I look forward to doing that demo with you as soon as possible. Thanks for stopping by.